This is Colin Digits. I'm here with Mr. Hernandez, CEO of Blocks Metaverse, a very interesting project coming up, right? Still quite early, but a big opportunity. So thank you so much for being here, taking the time to discuss your great project with us. Could you perhaps give us a brief introduction on Blocks and then basically the stage where it's currently in? And then I will give you my difficult questions.
Yes, great. Well, first off, thanks for having me on. Appreciate you taking the time. I guess the 30-second overview on Blocks is we provide NFT communities with the tools to build out their own custom metaverse environments. So some people like to call us a metaverse as a service provider or metaverse tools. But really for us, it's around giving these NFT community partners the ability to extend the utility and the functionality of their NFTs, giving their users actually something to do with their NFTs aside from just staring at OpenSea and hoping the chart goes up.
Right.
So that's a big thing. Yeah, we're working with some of the top blue chip projects out there on rolling out their own little metaverse environments. And we're opening up our platform and our SDK and API to broader partners to let them build out their own environments for their user base.
Makes sense. So basically giving NFT projects the opportunity to not per se develop their own metaverse as a whole project, but basically build upon an existing foundation.
Yeah. Right? Yep, exactly. The phrase, pocketverse might be appropriate here, right? There are certainly going to be a lot of metaverse environments. Our sense is, metaverse is not just one location. It's like saying there's only one internet. No, it's metaverse is a collection of different experiences, online, digital avenues. And what the tools we're providing to our partners are the ability to make a specific experience that can be around like a little side adventure or an event or something like that, where their community can come in, have their digital representation be of themselves as their NFT. So if it's like an avatar project, they can look like their avatar, and then go on these little stories, if you will, with the NFT organizer, and do it all digitally online and have it just kind of work, be interoperable across different platforms and chains. So it's that pocketverse type mechanism.
And when you say stories, what is it that the user can actually do? Because obviously we know that on a lot of these platforms, there is some type of development going on, but it's not really that clear to I would say the broader audience what the actual utilities are of these metaverses, right? Because right now I think in Decentraland you can walk around, right? You can watch a presentation, but that's one of the most developed metaverses available right now.
Yeah. So on our platform, we like to, the vibe we're going for is a little bit more of a neighborhood community type vibe. You can come in, you can load up, we support various different avatars. We're working on more. So we support Meebits. We're working on supporting Deadfellas, Cryptodes, Nouns, a bunch of other projects that have 3D avatars. And you can walk around. You can also chat. Not just text chat, but you can audio chat and video chat with your fellow community members. And then we have some basic gamification tools in there, like checking in. If you own land within your community's environment, you can put up your own NFTs to kind of show off to your community. You can decorate your environment. So it's got very much a Animal Crossing type vibe, but just those simple elements alone really, allow for example, for events to be hosted there where you can have a speaker and people can be walking around as their digital avatar, but still see sort of the speaker in the video chat and kind of a little bit of a hybrid experience, because our sense is people don't want to stare at cartoon representations for too long. They actually want to see, or they, not everyone, some people want to be pseudonymous, so they always want to be behind a screen, but others, I think more and more people are comfortable kind of, with their own representation, but they just want their digital avatar as well out there. So that's the extent right now of the platform, but we are adding in little mini games, other storytelling mechanisms so that there's more to do in the platform beyond just events. Because right now we are going for that social vibe, very casual. We're not trying to build a first-person shooter or anything like that,
Right.
because for us, it's that there should be enough to do there if you just want to spend 30 seconds each day just kind of checking in, checking stuff out, or if you want to spend hours there. We think it needs to sort of fit that
Is that
spectrum and get to the
specifically
more
for like the
casual.
mass adoption in mind?
It is, yeah. When we see like the games that have that crossover appeal, it is very much those casual social games, right? So Animal Crossing, or some of the smaller games like Pokemon type games, or a lot of it's very communal. There's some small
Yeah.
challenges, daily elements you're trying to accomplish, but a lot of it is also really just working with others around you, building that community, feeling a sense of like belonging to a tribe, and that's the same effect we're going with. So we're not trying to provide a large, open, sparse environment. We do try to keep it very small and communal.
So apart from like the metaverse, I understand you can walk around, you can enter the plots, right? If there's land, and you mentioned you can display your NFTs or other things. What is like the gamification metric? 'Cause I don't know if this is the metaverse to do that, right? But most of these experiences are engaging, right? So once you have a community, you would also have them. I would like to have them engaged, right, at the
Right.
highest
Yeah.
level. So is there anything on the gamification side where users? Because I can imagine that if we would be having, let's say, a conversation inside the metaverse, right? That's basically as long as the meeting runs, everybody would be there. But I assume you would also want people in your metaverse when there's not like continuous activities.
Yeah. Yeah. And so we talk about the daily check-in a little bit. That's a very simple mechanism where every day, or rather every 24 hours, you can check into one of the parcels of land. And then we reward you with points up to the first 10 daily check-ins. And those points convert into tokens down the road. And we talk about that a little bit later. But just that simple mechanism, giving people a reason to come back every day, to spend 30 seconds just checking into their favorite plots of land, their favorite spaces within that environment, that we have found that's a very compelling mechanism to start driving engagement and activity back. It also then lets you reward the people who have the most actively checked in plots of land. So if you're out there actively promoting on, Twitter, Discord, wherever, saying, "Hey, come check out my plot of land in my blocks environment," and people are coming and just doing the simple check-in mechanism, you start moving up the charts, if you will, and we're releasing sort of like a weekly ranked competition soon, where the folks who have the most actively checked in pieces of land start earning additional rewards. So you can see where that reward cycle starts to really.
Everybody wins. Because I did,
Exactly.
of course, like the plot owner gets more rewards, the users get more options, and you get more
Yep.
business because there's more users like that.
Yeah, exactly. And then we can start doing that at the community level. So one big thing we haven't talked about is that, again, going back to what we're trying to build, right? We're not trying to build a large Decentraland sandbox type environment like a mega world. What we're trying to create is these little pocket worlds, little pocket environments, these little pocket neighborhoods for our partners. So each one of our partners can receive their own little instance, their own little environment. So the MeBits community will have MeBitsville. The Nouns community will have Nouns Town. The Cryptodes will have, the Swamp, right? Their own little environments. And then within each environment, then you can start rewarding the most active users in that community, right? So you're not worried about, if you're a small NFT project, you don't have to worry about competing with the Bored Ape community because they're
Right.
just, massive. You can reward just your users and say, okay, who's the most active user in my community? I can reward them because they're driving the most traffic to our environment. And maybe we only have 1,000 holders right now or 100 holders, but they're actively promoting our project, promoting our little metaverse environment, bringing in more visitors, more people who can potentially buy into the community. and that's
Right.
going to grow the community. So it becomes it's very much, we want to reward the NFT owners for evangelizing their community.
And as a, let's say, as a project, how would a project reward the user? Because I understand you guys can potentially give them tokens, right? And what would the project do? So let's say we join um, the one you mentioned, the toads, right?
Yeah, the swamp. Yeah.
Yeah, the swamp, exactly. Do they have? Did they already think of a model toward their users or any other project?
Right now, we've got the base model of just using our own native token. But one thing we were in discussions with some partners on is like sponsoring additional rewards. So they can do like double reward months, double reward weeks, something like that, or they can run specific contests or challenges and use our native token.
Right.
We are exploring using third-party tokens. So like if a project has their own native token that they've released, we can use that as well. But for the most part, a lot of the NFT communities don't have their own token yet.
Right.
But
Yeah.
we think that's going to change. Obviously, with ApeCoin and the success behind that, we think others are going to start to roll out their own token. And we want to be able to support that so that you can then reward your users with your own native token, create
Makes
your own
sense.
different tiers. Maybe you have different challenges, right? It might be um, it's not just doing daily check-ins. Maybe you have to do a 10-day streak and then you get rewards only if you check in for 10 days. Things like that. We want to give our partners the tools to do that.
And let's say I'm a user in this Blocks Metaverse. Could I, apart from the NFTs that I hold, could I explore also other communities, or is it like locked with like a NFT wall or something?
Yep. No, they're by default, all the environments start out as open. Some partners, so far we don't have any partners that want to lock up their environments, but we have that option where you can gate via the NFT. So you can say, you need to have one of our NFTs to come in. And so we give people that option. Then it kind of creates like a little private club experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is, some projects want that, but for the most part, some projects may want that, but for
Or maybe a
everyone we've talked
rarity
to,
or something, you know?
well, we do have that option as well, where like, let's say you need a gold version of the NFT to get into like the gold room. So you can start making like VIP areas. But for the most part, honestly, we've found people just want it to be open, right? Because they want it to be just an environment that can bring in more community members. So
Yeah,
if
fair.
you create this open environment and people are having fun in there, then that they start inviting their friends to come and check it out. And their friends are like, oh, in order for me to get the maximum experience here, I need to own one of the NFTs. And so then that drives interest and traffic back to the core NFT collection.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense. Because I see Thaddeus is saying maybe a Digits Lounge. So I was thinking, yeah, it would be funny if it's like, now I do understand it. So basically, because
Yeah.
usually the communities are already gated, right? And then this metaverse would basically
Yeah.
be like a showcase model of like, this is what we can offer as a project. They can participate a little bit. So it's maybe even like an indirect sales mechanism. Is it like that?
It is, right? I mean, it's if you see the community is having fun, right? You see a big group of people, a tribe that's having fun together. That's a tribe you want to try to join. That's I mean, certainly there's incentives around like financial, gains, but also people, again, I think, especially with COVID and us all being, remote, people just want to
Right.
find somewhere where they belong. They want to find a tribe, a community. So if you see that there's a big community that's having fun together in their blocks environment, then and let's say they're all walking around as their avatars from the project, then the best way for you to become a part of that tribe, that community, is to buy an NFT from the collection so that you can wear your avatar then as you're hanging out. And that gets you, really immersed into that community. So yeah, I mean, we are seeing our partners use this more as a way to draw in more community, to engage their existing
Yeah, makes
community
sense.
that right now they're all on Discord, they're all just texting each other, they try to do
Yeah.
Twitter spaces, but then this becomes a way for them to like walk around as their avatar and like hang out and do stuff together. And
One
then
step
that
closer.
Exactly, and that hopefully grows the community, or at least keeps the community like really engaged.
And in accordance to the roadmap, because I think the community aspect is great, but I would like obviously focus on, like when you mentioned engagement before in community, I also think about like entertainment, like these kind of things. Is there anything on the roadmap where you would say like, oh, we do like game modes or something like this, like Mario Kart, or I'm just like anything like this?
Yeah, Blocks Arcade is what we're calling it.
Okay.
So these little mini games, right, where you can use your
Yeah, just like an
avatar.
experience, right?
Yeah, so like the game Frogger, where you're trying to get the frog across the busy street.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
little
yeah.
art, yeah. So Cryptode's Frogger, right? You take your little Cryptode and you're like, yeah. So
Oh, fair.
there are little things like little mini games that will roll out that just kind of be fun little experiences. But there, honestly, we have an SDK, and we're just opening that up to third party developers, because we can introduce some basic arcade games, but there's always going to be some very obscure games that people want, and so we just want to provide the tools for partners to come in and say, hey, we can create a Dr. Mario mini arcade game. Can we plug that into your system? We're like, okay, yeah, it's all in the browser right now. We don't require you to download a special app on your phone or a desktop application. It all just works in the browser. We use this technology called OpenGL, which is a pretty universally accepted browser technology for
Okay.
doing 3D elements in the browser. So I'd say it's about 98% of browsers supported, aside from, I think, some old versions of Safari don't work with it.
Oh, fair enough. They
Yeah,
need
but
to update their stuff.
very old versions of Safari. But and so the scripting language you use is JavaScript, and we have this SDK and an API, so third party developers can plug in their own little mini games. And so that's what sort of the Blocks Arcade. We're trying to make a space, like a container within the experience, that you can just load up these types of games. So our partners can choose to just add on
That's
as many
cool.
games as they want for their community.
That's cool. Is it like, what do the people get who build on the SDK? Do they get something, or is it more like a charity kind of thing?
No, we have within our token allocations, we do have a community grant
Oh, okay.
allocation where some of it will go towards these developers and artists who are using our SDK. Some of it that they're selling their own stuff as well. So they like, if you want to like, we've seen a couple of arcade NFTs where you can buy an NFT that is like a little arcade game itself, and so it can be a good sort of like collaboration there where you can experience the arcade game before you buy the NFT. Um,
Right.
so a lot of it is just like, and some of it is they just like to build cool stuff for their community. So you look at nouns or cryptodes, they have community members that just build stuff all the time with the assets, just because they love the community and they know how to code, or they're an artist, and so they make t-shirts with with the avatars on it, and they say, hey, who wants one? I'll just ship it to your house. I just love the community so much.
Right.
So we do see a lot of like that camaraderie, that community building effect that some people just volunteer for.
And what's like the timeline for such a thing to go live? Because as far as I understand, we look at the tokenomics, you are basically closing the private round.
We are, yes. So we are closing out the private round. We started sort of the first tranche of it back in January, um, and are opened up another tranche recently before we do our public launch. So the platform itself is in beta right now. It is live. We do have it out there. We have two environments running, one called Nexus and the other one for the Meebits community. And we'll be rolling out additional environments within the next couple of weeks, but fully live, fully operational. And then the token launch itself is to really to just drive more activity and more engagement back to the platform.
Makes sense.
The token itself serves almost like an in-game currency, if you will. So almost like, if you're at an arcade, it's the coins that come out of the arcade game. So the more you use the platform, the more you're doing your daily check-ins. If you own one of the more popular blocks, then you'll be earning tokens. And then it becomes, will hold certain sales where the NFTs being sold are only available in the token. We're mindful there to balance it out. We know people don't love that when it's just like only in your native token. They always want to use Ethereum or something else. So we are mindful of that, but we want to hold like exclusive member only sales where you do need the token. Because that to us is a good way. If you do it with the right balance, it's a good way to
Well,
reward
yeah,
your community
you
members.
have to at the end of the
Yeah,
day, because if you're giving out free tokens continuously, there can only happen one thing, right? And that's like
exactly. Yeah,
you're
yeah.
diluting the market that way.
Exactly, yeah. So we'll have those, sales, exclusive sales that are only in our native token. We're rolling out membership tiers soon, where holders of certain at certain levels of the token gain early access to events or to sales, or to private areas. We've also talked about like a little private club where you need to hold a certain number of the tokens. And then lastly, we do have a staking type mechanism where we'll have these semi-fungible tokens where you can load up our native token within it. It'll power up the semi-fungible token, and then you can redeem it in the game to like upgrade one of the core, like the land NFTs. So right now, if you go to the platform, you'll see it very much has, the Animal Crossing vibe, and each land NFT is effectively just a small room right now. But that's just a starting point. You can upgrade that to make it a multi-room, multi-levels, really build out stuff within that.
Like
And
a
so
house or
like a house, yes. And so we'll have this, the semi-fungible token, this booster NFT will be a way to upgrade your land NFTs and effectively, invest within your land, if you will. So we do, we have those mechanisms in order to add that utility back to the token, in order to, and again, kind of create that cycle where you're earning the tokens, but you also have very native ways to utilize the
well,
tokens
there
on the
has to be,
platform.
yeah, some kind of consumption economy. Otherwise, that
Exactly.
token is good for the valuation, but at the end of the
Yeah,
day, there has to be some utility to it. So, as far as I
exactly.
understand, on the NFT land side of thing, so not for the project specifically, but more for the holder of the NFT. So let's say a project partners, they give these NFTs, they sell these NFTs to their audience. Then let's say I have a land plot, right?
Yep.
And every week I do my all of my AMAs inside this land plot, which means that we would get over 2,000 people. And the recordings I don't play on YouTube, but I play the recordings inside my space. So you
Okay.
can go to my space and then see the latest AMA on the wall, and you can sit there and then watch it. Would that mean that you guys would also give me your governance token for doing all these things?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for us, we want to reward users and landowners who are driving activity and traffic back to the platform. So, the way we have it right now with the current, the token model is that you would then likely within your environment be earning the most tokens within that space. But obviously, if the if sorry, in this scenario, are you the NFT organizer, or you're just a very active member of your
No, I would
community?
be the member. I would be the member.
Okay. So there, like we would work. I mean, obviously, then this is driving value back to the whole community. So presumably, the value of your community's land is going up in value. So then the NFT community organizer could sponsor or do, reward you, the active member, in different ways. We would also reward on top of that. But there, to me, like if you're driving eyeballs back to the platform, there's no reason why you shouldn't be rewarded with that. It's almost like an
Makes sense.
affiliate model at that point,
Yeah,
right? Where
yeah.
it's like, hey, you're out there, evangelizing and driving people. Like we should 100% reward you. And there are very clear ways to do that in terms of just like eyeballs, traffic. If people are right now you can list up your NFTs and if your NFTs are for sale on like OpenSea and LooksRare and you purchase those, there are ways we can reward for that as well. So that, any activity that's going through, from people that you attract to the platform, we can 100% reward for that. And that's the intent. We want the community to be,
What I
to
think is
have that
super important.
ownership. Yeah. Yeah.
because at the end of the day, people would want to hold the land. And I think most of the people, at least in the beginning, right? So let's say the first year, the metaverse, the next boom in the market, the next bull run will really like blow that up into like the general audience as well. But for the crypto audience, perhaps if they want to hold the land, it's always the question, what's in it for me, right?
Yeah.
So they will ask about like, okay, what is the monetization model? How does it work? Like, how can we make money? How do you guys make money? How does it all work together? Well, I think it's very clear. So from the, let's say the beta version right now, right? So if you guys want to see what it looks like, the other YouTube video, the review, I walk through the game or the metaverse, and inside, I think I'm in the Me Bits part with the square
Great.
face, right? In
Yeah.
that one. Yeah. So that one was cool. I went into the houses or the rooms. I went outside again. And my question basically is, how quickly do you think things would develop based on the roadmap, right? Because you're talking about very cool stuff. Like, okay, you can sell your NFTs. That's like an option there, right? So sell on OpenSea through the metaverse is kind of cool if you can see the art on the wall, of course, and people can come in and random people can basically have like a little your own gallery.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
But what kind of other things are you looking at, perhaps that's already on the roadmap to build out, to basically scale the more random things that you would offer? Because I assume not everybody wants to host a gallery.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the base use cases, like just a simple gallery, right? You have an environment, you can put your NFTs up in the space, invite people to come check it out. There, you're either just showing off, you're flexing, you're letting everybody know, hey, look at my cool NFTs. Or if you're trying to sell them, it becomes a way of saying, hey, here are the NFTs I have for sale, come check them out. If you're interested, you can just click through and buy them. So that's always, a base use case. And a lot of these different metaverse plays that you see out there started out as like galleries. The other use cases around events. And there, we have the tools in place with, text chat, audio chat, video chat, where you can host events. We're adding more tools there to for moderation and stuff. So
I was
right now
about to ask on the moderation side.
yeah. Right now, while it's still in beta, we have it so that there's a global chat per environment. So the Meebits have their own chat, Nexus has its own chat, Nouns will have their own chat. All the partners will have their own chat environment so they can at least just host community events. But we're making it so that every parcel of land can have its own chat, and then the moderator is the owner of the land. So now you can host your own events. You don't have to be the owner of the whole environment. You just have to own one parcel of land. You can host your own events there. You're the moderator. You can effectively use it as a Twitter Spaces or as a chat. We're adding streaming capabilities, so then you can stream to Twitch, to YouTube, to other wherever else.
Cool.
Because a lot of people, they want to stream like, hey, come to my block, hang out. I'm going to stream this to YouTube so other people can check it out later. And there, we know you need moderation because moderation tools, because otherwise people just show up and start cursing at you. So we're adding that, just better support there. So that's for us. We see a lot of things popping up that we're seeing a lot of planned events. One of our partners is a musical artist they're selling NFTs that represent their poetry. So they want to do poetry readings in Blocks. So they're going to invite people to their space, turn on the audio chat or the video chat, and just do poetry readings, have a nice quiet environment to do that. So we see a lot of use cases there around active community events. But then we want to add more passive tools, like what you said, or what we like to call single player mode, right? I think we're doing a lot for multiplayer mode, where if you have people in an environment, you want to do a little event or just chat with other people, we have a great experience for that. But if you don't want to chat with people, you just want to do a little adventure, a little game, we're adding more tools for that around. We have a rules engine so that one of the things we're looking at is just doing simple mystery games where you solve mysteries by using NFTs within your wallet. So this becomes a fun way for a partner to incentivize people to own more than one NFT in their collection. Right. You could say, oh, hey, you need to solve this mystery or this riddle, you need this type of NFT from our collection. And then they go out, buy it on OpenSea, come back, use it. It unlocks a new experience and unlocks different types of events. So we're doing a lot with that because we see that rules engine as a way for the community partners to like program stories into the game. So they, every month then they can release a new story where the community needs to figure out what's the right combination of NFTs I need to have in my wallet in order to, unlock this month's mystery and win a prize, right? It could be Ethereum, it could be a rare NFT, a POAP, something like that. So that sort of like storytelling mechanism is one that was actually one of our earliest use cases. But we kind of moved forward sort of the social chat elements before it because we just saw more demand for it. But that storytelling mechanism has been one of the key tenets that we had that, again, goes back to like, what can you do with your NFTs, right? You need to give people something more to do with the NFTs. And using the NFTs as story pieces, is one of the earlier things we started working on.
So in terms of the moderation, right? You mentioned there's like voice, video, and it's controlled by the NFT holder, right? The person in charge of the space. Is there any general moderation from like the block side?
Right now, no. Right now, it is something we're mindful of. That I mean, we have, if we get so far, knock on wood, we have not received complaints of someone sitting in there and just spewing racist garbage, right? Just
right.
Yeah. So far, we have not received that. It is something we're working on, just a broader moderation.
It's super labor intensive, right? In terms of usually you have like a profanity field or something like this.
Yeah.
Just to have like staff do like the moderation, it's like a nightmare.
Yeah. So I mentioned how we would do moderation at like the block level, where like if you own a parcel of land and you host your own little chat in there, you're the owner, so we would let you be the moderator. And we would check that obviously through your wallet, right? You have your MetaMask wallet connected. Yeah. We know you're the owner of the NFT, the land NFT. So, okay, you're the moderator. So for broader moderation, we have not rolled this out yet, but one thing we're looking at is just letting each community have their own set of like moderators that can, if they want to sit there, or they can kick people off if they need to. I mean, we're trying to make it very permissionless and decentralized. So we don't want to like create, any real like blockers, but obviously, yes, I think, either the ability to like mute people if they're just spewing garbage.
Right. Or like if it's like video, people are crazy with video, right? Or pictures, then one woman has to show up to an AMA and the whole meeting goes sideways.
Someone referenced because of the chat feature. Someone referenced us, and we talked about having each little room can have its own chat. They're like, oh, you're kind of building a 3D Discord. And we're like, oh yeah, I guess, because like then you can control who's in each room. But there, I think just like in Discord, you can boot somebody if they're just being very if they're attacking people, if they're using racist language, then you want to remove them from the server.
And I mean, it's fair. It's like if it's all open and it's meant to be open, but at the end of the day, the NFT project owner still has the responsibility for their space. The individual owner still has the responsibility for their space, right? And that's all still decentralized because it's still on the smart contract, right?
Yeah. So it's striking that. Yeah, it's that balance, walking that fine line. Because I guess again, just like Discord, you can mute or boot people from the server, but we want to give tools for that, but we don't have that yet. So
yeah, that's okay. There's still, it's still early, building. Right? That's the thing. Yeah. When you look at this, when we look at the tokenomics, so just to tie into the tokenomics and the investment rounds, because I think that's my favorite part. Of course, I like the idea. I think it's great. That's why we asked you here. But I also think that the opportunity that you present is great, right? Because when I reviewed the tokenomics, quite a big race, right? So serious project. Usually what we see with Metaverse is, I think, so far 10.5 million raised out of a 14 million round total.
But that was over several rounds. So last year we did do a raise
from the beginning.
Yep. Yeah. So last year we raised from notable crypto investors. We did a $7 million last year from investors such as Fembushi Capital, Kinetic Capital, Protocol Labs, the makers of Filecoin, Gumi Crypto, Picus Capital, Cabin Capital, and several others. And so we used that last year to start building out a lot of the core infrastructure, a lot of sort
Was
of
that all seed or also strategic?
That was all seed. That was all
Okay.
seed. Yep. And then this year, we opened up the token round. As I mentioned, we did one tranche back in January. The target there was 3 million. So we received that in commitments there. And now we're doing an additional 1.5 right now in this latest tranche before we do 500K in a public sale, targeting within the next month. And so there we're working with a couple of launchpad partners. We are finalizing a CEX listing and have lined up a couple of market makers there as well. And obviously we're targeting DEXs on top of that as well for the token itself.
Big project, because when I reviewed the tokenomics, it comes down to about 140, 160 million fully diluted.
160 is at public launch.
Yeah, okay. That's why I put it a little lower, because I wasn't sure if it was actually 160. But yeah, that makes, well, obviously for this type of big project, that's fully diluted. So you know the
Correct.
initial market cap already, or are the tokenomics not fully dialed in?
No, the initial market cap is 1.18. So a little bit less than 1% of total token supply is unlocked at TGE.
Okay,
So that,
fair.
yeah, and that's big for us. You know, obviously we have investors from last year who certainly allocated capital at very early stages of the development cycle, and so obviously we want to reward them for taking
And I mean,
on
like
a lot of that risk.
1% is fine.
Right.
You know, the thing is, the initial market cap is high because of the race being high.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
But as long as it's not like 4 or 5%,
No.
that's like moving a little too fast.
The seed investors have 0% TGE unlock, and their linear vesting. They each have 12 months vesting. And that linear vesting starts at between 3 to 6 months, depending on what tranche they got in at last year. But we are very mindful of both rewarding obviously some of those early backers, but also being mindful
Not rewarding
towards
them yet.
exactly.
Yeah.
I think certainly there is a difference in sort of the risk profile that they were taking on. And sort of where the project was at in its life cycle. And now we want to be very respectful, obviously, towards new backers. And right now, a lot of the big thing that we're focused on is finding, everybody says strategics, but for us, it comes down to community. Because for us, strategics, like we have access to a lot of the top NFT projects out there, Deadfellas, Nouns, Cryptos, Meebits, several others. And for us, it's around community building. Can we, work with, these new backers to the project to bring in more users, more community? Because that's going to be the big indicator for us for long-term success, right? Bringing in more of these communities, bringing more of these different pools and different pockets, around Web3 that can, not only come and want to speculate on the token itself, right? Because that's always going to be, inherent to a token product. But we actually want people to be like, hey, I actually have a lot of these NFTs, and you're telling me I can do something now with my nouns or my cryptos. I can actually like come in here and, I hate to use the term play to earn, but that's, everybody loves that. But like, I can do more with my NFT and potentially earn more tokens this way. And like, it just becomes a lot more engaging. There's a lot more value.
Utility.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So those are the type of like new participants we're looking for that can bring a lot of that value. And so, I'm obviously talking with a lot of KOLs and a lot of folks like that right now to help us with that, aspect right now.
Interesting, because basically we learned about the project just at the right moment, right? Because it's not really kicking off just yet, but you said like in about 4-6 weeks until the public sale, something like this. So it
Yeah,
is
yeah,
kind of, you're getting ready for that full marketing push, right? That is
exactly.
where it
Yeah.
would happen. What do you think about working with these launchpads? Have you signed any launchpads so far?
Yes. So far, we're working with Firestarter, um, and then also with Miso. So one of the investors in our project is Gabby from Yo Guild Games. They worked with for the YGG token. They did
Yeah.
that through Miso. So that for us felt like a good sort of mix of Firestarter is very focused on metaverse gaming, that type of environment. The Miso audience is very different, different geography, different focus, and we're certainly looking for I think we're in discussions with one or two others right now that can really help us target for that gaming market. But there again, like if you look at who we want to work with there, it goes back to community and user acquisition, I guess, to use that
Yeah.
term, because we don't necessarily want to work with partners who are solely focused on DeFi, just pure DeFi, because quite honestly, they're not going to use our platform because they probably
True.
own maybe they own one CryptoPunk and that's about it. But they're not looking for utility from their CryptoPunk. They're looking for appreciation there. So for us, the ideal audience for us is that NFT person who owns dozens of NFTs and wants to do stuff with them and wants to like reach out to their project organizer and say, hey, you guys should go work with Blocks because they can do something where we can load up our alpacas in the environment and do stuff with our alpacas now.
Right.
So we are with our Launchpad partners. We're looking at sort of a similar audience focus.
Well, I think that that's one of the main benefits that you'll have going forward, is that a lot of these games and or metaverses, they're so focused on their actual game that the investors are so disconnected from the game, right? I spoke with a game like 2 hours ago, and it's amazing, right? Yet I could tell them from the start, like, obviously I had to represent Digitsclub in that case. And I told them, like, our investors are not going to play your game. Don't confuse it, right? It's two
Yeah.
different things, right? They expect like, oh yeah, but there's tokens and we have NFTs and you guys can also get these NFTs and it's great because then you can play the game. And I'm like, we're not going to play the game, right? If I would play the games that I invest in, then I don't have time to invest,
You didn't
right?
have
All I
time.
would do is
Yeah.
play games. But what I like about Blocks specifically is that it offers such a wide variety of utility, right? Most of it, I would say, still to be dialed in, but it's actually usable for the investors as well, because the space is just what you make of it. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, it's an open-ended universe. That's how we like to, there is not a specific like, oh, you have to kill the orc in this game, right? Like
Right.
it's exactly that. We're looking for that casual social gamer. Uh, it's the same person who plays Wordle every day, right? They play Wordle because they like to, their friends are all doing Wordle and they like to oh, you got Wordle in 4 today, or Wordle in 2 today. Wow, great job. So things like that. Wordle can take a couple minutes a day if you play it, and then you're busy, right? You're busy. You're either actively at your day job, or crypto is your day job and you're doing things actively there. So yeah, it is very open-ended. It is very casual. We do try to have it be a blank enough of a canvas so our partners can then say, here's what we want
Right.
to do with it. We want to make it every week we're going to have a town hall here, right? And everyone shows up with their avatar and you listen to someone on the video chat and people just hang out afterwards and that's it. Or, hey, we want to load up weekly challenges. We want to make it so that you need to solve puzzles or riddles, or you need to do these different actions in order to win each week, and we're going to reward you with tokens. It's a different vibe for each community. So we didn't want to sit here and dictate, okay, you need to use this needs to be a sword game. You need to kill goblins
Yeah.
every week. And that's not going to fit your community, for example, right?
Right.
You guys,
Exactly.
yeah, your community doesn't have time to sit
It's
there
more
and
likely
swing.
we would do like the town hall thing, also not like a daily thing, more like a weekly, bi-weekly, maybe even
Yeah,
monthly thing,
exactly. Yeah.
you
Or the
know?
private room thing, right? Like you need
Yeah.
one of the gold NFTs to like gain access, or yeah, things like that. So we definitely wanted to make it open-ended enough where the partner could paint, the picture they're trying to paint for their community, and you're not pegged into like, oh, it's a first-person shooter, you have to shoot somebody every day. So yeah, that's the vibe that we're going for.
What about the scalability? I'm not usually asking any tech questions because I'm like, tech, it is what it is. But let's say I would host a space and I bring in
Yep.
25,000 people. What is the odds of the server crashing in that case?
Well, obviously we would partition out. So typically what happens there and how we do it is we instance out. So just like, if you go to Minecraft or Fortnite, they have, hundreds of thousands of users. You don't see all of them at once, because if you saw
Right.
all of them, the space you would be, shoulder to shoulder with everybody in there. So we do the same thing. We do server instancing where once each instance holds X number of users, and it spins up a new instance dynamically. We use just socket servers for that. And so then every person sees just sort of the people around them. But then in the global chat, you can then see everybody. So you can still hold like a town hall for a large community of people, but like you've seen the environment, right? Like
Right.
you can't hold 25,000 people like
Yeah. What would be like
physically.
the maximum? Is it like maybe 200?
No. Right now we've got it up to 10,000. Is roughly
Okay.
the number we've stress tested to. But there again, it gets partitioned out. So you wouldn't see all 10,000 people. You would
Yeah.
just see the
Yeah, I
people
can
around
imagine,
you.
because if there would be 10,000 people, you can't even see your own avatar because it's so
The room is so
stacked.
full.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we are, we play around with that. And then the bottleneck actually becomes the global chat, because then we do need really strong moderation tools, because in that scenario, and again, this is like Twitter Spaces, right? Or right now, right? We have a lot of attendees, but only you and I are allowed to speak and be on
Yeah.
camera. So we're adding in those moderation tools so that we can host those environments. Otherwise, yeah, you're listening, you're trying to listen to 10,000 people talking, and yeah, it's all just, static at that point.
Quite messy. Yeah.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be a good thing. What I think is interesting, so let's say you obviously log in through the Blocks portal, right? So you log in, I go to my, what
Mm-hmm.
was it called? Town Square?
Yes. Yeah. The Meebits is town square.
Yeah, so I end up at the Town Square. What would be basically the best way, you think, to further monetize this from a user point of view? You mentioned like there's the check-ins that they could do. Our users, and so they can sell their art, right? Which you mentioned. Because I think our audience is specifically interested in like further monetization options. Or do you have any ideas lined up that you think like, hey, this is not, maybe not set in stone, but this is something that might be interesting to look into?
Yeah, the rental market is a big opportunity we see with some of this virtual land. And it's interesting because some of this goes counter to my thesis of like, like virtual land is not scarce, right? You can spin up virtual, like,
Yeah.
yeah, like the value of virtual land should not be in its scarcity. If that's solely the value that you're relying on, that's a very artificial, mechanism that people are putting in. So for us, the value in this digital land, the value in like a land NFT should be in what's being built on it or around it, right? So meaning, so the concept, we have these plazas that have 16 parcels of land around them, and this goes back to our communal feel, right? We want these little like neighborhoods, and then you can create, in theory, infinite neighborhoods. We let our partners decide how big or how small they want it to be. So like Meebits, they have 20,000 NFTs. In theory, they could do 20,000 parcels of land, one for each Meebit. If that's the play they want to do, great. Or they can do 100 parcels of land and just have it be very intimate. So to us, the value is not in, oh, it's one of X. The value is, okay, here's my parcel of land. Here's what I've done with it, or here's what the people around me are doing with it that's drawing in a lot of attention and eyeballs. So like, that distinction there between, okay, I want a parcel of land that's in the middle of this virtual environment. You can hyperlink anywhere. There's really no concept of like a middle of the internet, right? There's no middle. There's just, if you create a compelling website right now on the internet, people will go to it. And
Right.
Yes, you want to get indexed on Google, but ultimately for us, land should work that way too, where if there's value being added and you're drawing in a lot of attention, then that land becomes valuable because it's attracting a lot of eyeballs. And so their rentals are interesting because if you develop sort of a little like district that is very popular, that has a lot of compelling attractions, a lot of traffic, then you can rent out one of the spots in that district. You can say, okay, I own these 10 parcels of land here. I've done a great job of cultivating the 10. I'm going to rent out one of my 10 spots to somebody who wants to catch some of my foot traffic. And so then that becomes interesting there. Letting someone borrow it for, X period of time, and then you can monetize that way. So
Right.
that's something we're starting to see the rental market sort of heat up in some other environments, where if somebody's like in the middle of the map, that's very attractive, an attractive spot.
Yeah.
But again, as the metaverse expands and the concept of like location becomes less relevant because you can just hyperlink anywhere, we think there's still a rental market to be had if you're adding in, if you have built a lot of value on top of that land parcel.
Right.
So
So
that's
let's
something we see.
for example, if I would host this AMA inside
Yep.
Blocks, right? We could put a sponsorship banner on the wall, and then we could monetize that as like as something like that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Or
Okay.
if
So
you have a high visibility block, one of the NFT spots on your wall, you could rent to somebody to say, hey, are you
yeah.
trying to, I can get a lot of eyeballs on your NFT. This is a great way to highlight it and try to sell it at that higher price. And then you could rent, or you could then at that point take a, affiliate model play, right? You can say, I'll take a commission. I'm going to put it, this is the gallery play, right? I own a gallery. I put your art up on my wall. If the art sells in my gallery, I take a commission out of it because I'm bringing foot traffic and eyeballs and
Fair.
interest and buyer interest to your art. So a similar play can be done within Blocks.
Man, I like it. I just like the aspect where you don't have to worry about the tag and just focus on what you're good at. And at least for us, that's delivering value, like the value proposition, the engagement, the community. Yeah, I think it can be something really big. I'm looking forward to the execution of the roadmap, because that's obviously always the
Yeah.
nerve-wracking part. But yeah, you've been great on our last call. You've been very transparent today. I think so far, what I like how you explain it is like in a normal language, right? Regular
Yeah.
phrases. And most projects, they just dabble around the difficult questions, right? Like they don't want to say how much money they raised or what they're doing. It's like just less transparent, because at the end of the day, if your white paper is good, we can read it there anyway, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I think transparency is big. Like we're building in the public right now is what we like to say, because we released the beta. Well, that's the other thing too. We've actually released product, which I'm sure you've seen a lot of projects that don't have product. They just have a promise and a
almost
white
all of them.
paper. Yeah. So for us, like, I don't know, maybe we're not great at hype building, but we're like, no, we have to release product first. Otherwise, why would people want to like take part of this, And so we've got product out there, it's a beta. It doesn't have everything we want it to have, but we want to build in public that way. We want to, first off, we want to make sure we're not building stuff that people don't want, right? So like, let's say we started adding
Very
first
important.
person. Yeah, we started adding first person shooter mechanisms, and people are like, I don't want that. Why did you build that?
That's the actual thing that I want.
But yeah, so like right now we, like the video chat feature actually is a relatively new feature. We were in our closed beta testing. One of our closed beta testers said, hey, it'd be great. You guys have audio chat. Can you add video chat? And we're like, we can, but we just assume people, because of NFTs, they don't want to see themselves. We just assume people want it to be their avatar. And this tester was like, yeah, but if I want to talk to a friend and we know each other, I just want to see them. I don't need to stare at their avatar all day. And I was like, okay. So we added that. And that's one of our most commonly used features now. And people love that. They're like, this is great. It's like, I can see you as your avatar, and I can see your actual you, and it's optional. So you don't have to turn on your camera. It's entirely optional, because a lot of people don't want to do that. But that's a feature that we added during our beta testing process, because it was requested by several beta testers. And so I love that, because that to me, if you read our website and our papers and everything, we talk about like being, owned by the community, governed by the community. We're taking steps to move towards like a DAO model, and that there's obviously a lot of steps along the way, and there's a lot of complications around being a DAO. But for us, being that close to the community, one of the biggest advantages is getting feedback and incorporating that feedback into the product. And that way you're actually building
Very
something that
important.
people want. Yeah. And instead of saying, I'm going to build something I think people want, I want to get feedback from the users in the community. And if they're like, hey, we want a first person shooter, man. You got to add the ability for me to shoot somebody in the game. We're like, okay. So like we're adding like equipable, we're not calling them weapons. They're just equipable items.
Which look like weapons.
Which here again, some partners want weapons, others want a flower can, a water can, so they can water their flowers, right? So it's a different vibe for each community. Some of them are very friendly, and others are like, no, I just want an
hostile.
Axe. Yeah, I just want an axe. Can you?
We want a fountain that we can turn on and spruce like coins.
There you go. Yeah. So yeah, so I think getting that feedback, I think that's important for us, and so then that goes all the way back to like transparency, right? I think if we're very open and clear, like here's what we're building, here's what we have, here's what we don't have yet, but we're in process on it, then our users can tell us like, oh, you shouldn't spend your time on that. Like, they could say Twitter already does it. We don't need another Twitter here. Do this instead, and that I think helps us build a better product.
100%. Yeah. Building it together with the users that actually use it instead of the people that just like to talk about it. Aligned on the vision.
Exactly. And that goes back to a little bit to the DAO too, that one of the things we want to get to a place where we can ask our community like, hey, should we build feature A or feature B? And then we let the token holders decide, right? Like, hey, we want you guys to focus on this versus that. And that's, we can get it back informally from like Discord or just Twitter polls, but I think if we actually have the stakeholders tell us and they vote with their tokens, then that's a pretty clear signal to us on what we should be building, right? So yeah, it kind of all just kind of cycles back.
Sounds awesome. Anything else you would like to add to our community? Some final words?
No, I mean, I would just encourage people to check out the platform. It's operational. You can play around with different avatar features. If you have Amiibits, if you have like nouns, cryptodes, dead fellas, we'll have support for those shortly, possibly this week. So you can come in, check out these different features and just play around and just give us feedback, jump on our Discord. Always love to hear feedback there as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate it. Great answers to the questions. And I hope we can catch up again in the future and keep up with your project. That would be great.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Thanks.